Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to the second day of Vlogmas. And today we're going to be talking about Christmas and we're going to be talking about Dickens. So, in the first week of Vlogmas, sort of starting today, I suppose, sort of starting tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a mini little author week on the Christmas works of Charles Dickens, so his 5 Christmas novellas. I love Charles Dickens and I love Christmas books, and I know that a lot of you have really enjoyed my author weeks that I've done before. I will link them all down below in the description. I've done an author week, or an author fortnight indeed, going through all of Charles Dickens's full-length novels from my least favourite to my favourite. I've done the same for Jane Austen, for the Bronte sisters, for Thomas Hardy and for Elizabeth Gaskell, and I've also done a series week on Anthony Trollope's The Barchester Chronicles. And what I've done in most of these author weeks is go through from my least favourite work by an author to my most favourite, and with the exception of Trollope, those are all authors that I've read in full, and I've really enjoyed doing these series, and I like having little mini-series on the channel where I talk about a different book every day for a week. So I thought, in honour of Christmas and to get off Vlogmas to a good start, I would do a little mini author week on the Christmas works of Charles Dickens. So Charles Dickens published in his lifetime 5 Christmas novellas. Now these are called the Christmas novellas or the Christmas books because they were published just before Christmas. Some of them are more Christmassy than others. So on the 17th of December 1843, Charles Dickens published A Christmas Carol, which is pretty famous, you may have heard of it. Definitely Charles Dickens' best well-known Christmas book, and potentially his best-known work. I think it's probably equally well-known, if not more well-known, than Oliver Twist. It's pretty famous, most people know the story, and it is wonderful. I'll be doing a full video on that, of course, in the course of the next week. Then on the 16th of December 1844 we had The Chimes. Now The Chimes is not strictly a Christmas story, but it is a New Year story. The bulk of the action of the book is set on New Year's Eve. On the 20th of December 1845 Dickens published The Cricket on the Hearth. This is the least Christmassy of all the stories. It has nothing to do with Christmas and is not set around Christmas, but it is kind of like warming and pleasant and enjoyable, so I suppose in that sense it's quite good for Christmas. Then on the 19th of December 1846 Dickens published The Battle of Life. Now The Battle of Life is half Christmassy. The book is divided into 3 parts which take place at different times of year and different years, so the novella spans quite a long period of time, and the middle section, part 2, is set around Christmas time. I think it's set on Christmas Eve, but the other 2 parts are not. So it's sort of a little bit Christmassy in the middle, but not that Christmassy all the way through. And then Dickens's final Christmas novella, The Haunted Man, was published on the 19th of December 1848, and this is a Christmas story. This is set around Christmas time. I think it's set over like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day itself. It might start the day before Christmas Eve, I can't precisely remember, but that is another Christmassy one. So as you can see, of the 5 of them, some of them much more Christmassy than the others. A Christmas Carol and The Haunted Man are the most like Christmassy. The Chimes is a New Year's story, and then the other 2 are really not that Christmassy, but they were published in time for Christmas as kind of Christmas stories, and throughout the stories there are kind of like good cheer and good morals, I suppose, and kind of like family feeling. So I suppose in that sense they kind of fit into a Victorian idea of Christmas. So those are the 5 novellas I'm going to be talking about over the next 5 days, but I thought today, before I get into those little videos on each of those books, I would have a general chat about Dickens and Christmas, because I do think, especially in Britain, Charles Dickens is kind of like synonymous with Christmas and has become a very like Christmassy symbol. There was a film that came out last year which I didn't see, but that was about the life of Charles Dickens and about Charles Dickens writing The Christmas Carol. It was called The Man Who Invented Christmas, and I do think there is a sense to which, in this country at least, in Britain, Charles Dickens was like the inventor of Christmas and did like found Christmas, which obviously is not true, but certainly like he is highly associated with Christmas, and A Christmas Carol especially is so well known and so widely repeated and parodied and adapted and reinvented. Like, so many people know the story of A Christmas Carol, and it's so widely recognised and known and so widely quoted. Like, I feel like "Bar humbug" must be the most quoted words from all of Dickens, probably more so than "Please sir, I want some more," especially because that quote from Oliver Twist is usually quoted wrongly, and most people say "Please sir, can I have some more," when in fact the quote from the book is "Please sir, I want some more." But even then I feel like "Bar humbug" is still quoted much more and is like on various t-shirts, and has just become like an expression now here for, you know, like disliking Christmas jolliness. Like, I think A Christmas Carol and Dickens in general has really fed into like the culture around Christmas here. Dickens is very much associated with Christmas, and for me is a big part of Christmas, especially because, you know, I'm not religious, and I think although Dickens's Christmas stories and A Christmas Carol are connected with religion, and, you know, A Christmas Carol ends with, you know, sort of "God bless us everyone," A Christmas Carol and Dickens's other Christmas stories do also offer a kind of like slightly secularised Christmas, in that the focus in A Christmas Carol is not on religion and worship, it's on family relationships and being kind to people and kind of goodwill, which obviously is connected with religion too within the context of A Christmas Carol, but I do think that's one of the reasons why A Christmas Carol has stood the time so well, is that it is so much more about what a lot of people like me who celebrate Christmas but aren't religious care about for Christmas and consider Christmas to be about sort of family relationships and affection and sort of being kind to other people and kind of having a big get together because you care about the people who you're getting together with for Christmas, I suppose. Anyway, Dickens' writing about Christmas and Dickens' relationship with Christmas is by no means confined to those 5 Christmas novellas. Christmas plays quite an important and interesting part in several of his books. There's a really memorable Christmas feast in the Pickwick Papers, and Great Expectations actually begins on Christmas Eve, and one of my favourite Christmassy bits in the whole of Victorian literature is the really terribly awkward, terrifying for Pip Christmas Day meal they have in must be the 2nd chapter of Great Expectations. And Dickens also published a Christmas magazine. Dickens ran a magazine or journal called Household Words, and then later called All Year Round, and each year for, I think it must be a good decade of the Victorian period, he published a Christmas edition of this magazine, which he used to start preparing from August, and he would write stories, and he'd get lots of authors who were friends of his to write stories, and there'll be a whole world of Christmas stories, some of which were very, very Christmassy, some of which were just kind of jolly for the season, and some of which were kind of ghost stories, because there was a big tradition in Britain at that time of telling ghost stories on Christmas Eve. I have not read very many of the Dickens Christmassy short stories in Household Words, but I have ordered recently a book that is a collection of Dickens's Christmas short stories and Christmas short stories by other authors that were published in the Christmas edition of Household Words. So hopefully that will arrive soon, and I will enjoy reading them over the course of December, and hopefully make a video later on in December to report on how I have enjoyed those stories, because I'm really looking forward to them. I've only read a few of his individual Christmas short stories, but I have really enjoyed them all, and just the work that Dickens put into not only writing stories for, but also organising for and commissioning for the Christmas editions of Household Words and All Year Round show what Christmas meant to him and how important it was to him, and how invested he was in kind of being connected with Christmas as part of his kind of brand, I suppose, as an author in some ways. I'd also like to recommend this book. This is called Dickens and Christmas by Lucinda Hawksley, and I read this book last year. It's a non-fiction book published by Pen and Sword. Really, really interesting, and looks at kind of Dickens' relationship with Christmas over the course of his life, how it influenced his Christmas books, and also kind of talks a lot about his editing of the Christmas editions of Household Words, which I hadn't really known anything about before I read this book. If you want to read some more of Dickens' Christmas work and Christmas books, I would recommend quite a few different editions. This is the Collector's Library little edition, which has A Christmas Carol, The Chimes and Cricket on the Hearth in. Then there is this lovely edition from Vintage, which is really, really beautiful, and they very kindly sent me a review copy of last year. This has A Christmas Carol, The Chimes and The Haunted Man in, so the 3 of the most Christmassy stories. And then I also have this brilliant thing, also by Vintage Classics actually. This is Dickens at Christmas, and this has a lot in. This has all 5 of the Christmas novellas, and it also has a few extracts from his books, including from the Pickwick Papers. Then it has a few of the short stories from Household Words as well. It's just really, really fun and very enjoyable. Oh, and it also, in fact, the thing it has from the Pickwick Papers is the story of the goblins who stole a sexton, which is a short story that somebody tells someone else in the Pickwick Papers, which is so clearly a precursor for A Christmas Carol. It's absolutely fascinating. So there we go. 4 things to pick up or to gift people for Christmas if you're interested in Christmas and Dickens. So that's all. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have read Dickens's Christmas novellas and if you've read any others apart from A Christmas Carol, because obviously that is the most commonly read one. Thanks very much for watching, and I'm back tomorrow to talk about one of Dickens' Christmas novellas.